Hello and welcome to class number 4 of this series that we call Decoding PSIR through Answer Writing. If you have taken PSIR as an optional subject in UPSC or you are planning to take PSIR in your UPSC examination, I am here to simplify the subject for you as much as possible. And that is why we are running this series. In this series, you will have a video at 4 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so 3 videos a week. What will we do about this? Every single day, we will be taking up a previous year question that UPSC has asked in PSIR paper. Rather than just answering the question, we will first discuss that topic so that you can revise or learn about that topic for the first time. And then we will try and answer that question. So not only will we discuss that particular topic, but we will also write an answer to that. If you have already read this topic, it will act as a revision for you. If not, it will be a new knowledge for you. What do you need to do here? Hit the subscribe button if you have not done this so far. Invite other friends also, those who have PSIR as an optional subject. And if you want a PDF of these lectures, you can join my Telegram channel. The link of that channel also you will find in the description of the video, and I will be uploading the PDFs right there. So let's begin. Let's see what is the previous year question that we will be discussing today along with the topic. I have taken a question from paper 1 part A. The topic name is Theories of State, and this is the question. Examine the liberal theory of state in contemporary politics. Asked in 2022, it's a 20-mark question. 250 words is the word limit and 3A is the question number in this paper. Now, in PSIR syllabus, we read about different theories of state. Different people belonging to different backgrounds have given different ways in which how government should work and how government does work. There is a liberal theory of state, feminist theory of state, Marxist theory of state, socialist theory of state, feminist theory, post-colonial. A lot of different theories have been given of how a state or the government should run. In case you are new to my YouTube channel, I in fact have made a detailed video on the topic of liberalism. You will find that video in this particular channel. If you go through that video, I have discussed the concept of liberalism in a great bit of detail. It's very similar to that here. So rather than first writing the answer, first let's discuss this topic called the liberal theory of state. Let's first talk about liberal or liberalism. Liberalism or liberal means freedom. The idea is simple. Those who believe in the liberalism theory or liberal theory, their argument is human beings by nature are good. Human beings by nature are smart enough to run the government, to run the country. They don't need someone to sit on their head and tell them this is what you should do, this is what you should not do. In other words, if you set the people free, if you allow the people to take their own decisions, trust them with their decision making, when you are setting them free, you will eventually have a good society. That is liberal thinking in simple terms. So, a state where such kind of thoughts prevail, where people don't have any restrictions over how to work, how to communicate, how much will they get paid, when people don't have any pressure over them when they are not told by anyone how to behave, that is what you call as a liberal theory of state. It is based on the simple idea that individuals, men by nature are intelligent, they are smart, and they have their own reason. Because the earlier theories, before the 17th century, the earlier theories said that God chooses a few people and gives them all the intelligence. Those people should become the king, those people should rule the government. And then because they are the only ones who have all the intelligence in the world, they should tell everyone how to behave. Before the 17th century, the idea was that a common man would not know how to behave. A common man would not have the knowledge, would not have any experience, and they need to be told, they need to be restricted. Liberal theory, however, talked about non-interference. This non-interference was also kind of considered in favor of the middle class. Middle class that was a large part of the population, but it was stuck between the industrialists who owned the resources. It was stuck between the merchants who controlled the entire economy. The middle class was forced to work for a very, very low wage in certain areas. They were not even allowed to leave work. There was this concept wherein you were tied to your land. That was an era where the peasants did not have any freedom. That was an era where you could work as slaves, where you could work as slaves in hereditary situation, where even if your father was a slave, you would also be considered as a slave. So again, liberal theory was a kind of a reaction to all that situation. It was a reaction to that. While allowing people to take their own decisions, the liberal theory wanted to set them free. Whenever you talk about liberal theory, you also talk about something called the social contract. Now, social contract is a concept, or it's an idea about how society would have begun. How is it that the first governments would have been elected or the first king would have been chosen? This idea is propagated by thinkers such as John Locke, Thomas Hobbes. John Locke, for example, said, how nature or how state originated, there would have been a situation, a hypothetical situation, where everyone thought that, okay, in order to have proper laws, in order to protect our property, so that no one from outside comes and attack, we need to give someone more powers. So maybe a social contract was signed. Everyone agreed to surrender some powers to a single person, allow him or her to take decisions for everyone, allow that single person the power to protect against any external threat, allow that single person to preserve property. That will be the only thing that they would do. Enforce contracts, protect property, protect against external attack. That is what John Locke or liberal thinkers say about a social contract, that people gave away powers to one single individual who became the ruler or the state. Their responsibility will be to protect everyone from external threat, enforce the contracts, and to protect everyone's property. In economics terms, it led to the concept of laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is a concept that again set free, allow the people to take their own decisions, allow the individuals to work in such a manner that they take decisions by themselves. Set them free and they will take the best possible decision. That is the idea. Now, in terms of liberalism also, liberal thinkers don't say that there will not be any government. There will be a government, but the idea is what will be the role and the power of the government. There is a negative concept of liberalism, there is a positive concept of liberalism. Negative liberalism means government will have zero interference, no interference from the state. An individual should have complete rights to own property, complete rights to liberty. An individual should decide everything for himself to gain maximum happiness. You should be free to decide how much salary do you want to pay to your worker. You should be free to decide if you want to work or not. If you are able to afford a living, you can. If you are not able to afford food or water, government will not do anything. That is called negative liberalism. Means absence of any restriction. That is negative liberalism. The idea is that you are dependent on yourself. Government does not have any support over you. If you can afford your living, if you can afford your clothes, you can afford water, food, so be it. If you can't, the government will not come in the picture. This is a big supporter of capitalist market economy, wherein the capitalist model is propagated. There is no restriction on what kind of businesses you want to open, how do you want to run, who do you want to employ. For example, when industrial revolution first began in Europe, specifically in UK, they needed a lot of coal so that the machines could be run. Now, to extract the coal, they did not have a lot of machines at that point of time. Most of the coal had to be extracted by hand. So, a lot of industrialists employed small children because these small children were able to go into small places where they could extract coal from hand. They did not even have to pay a lot of salary to these small children. It was allowed because the government did not stop them. Government did not have any regulation against child labor. This is an example of negative liberty or negative liberalism. Absence of state, absence of any restriction by the state. Opposite of that is positive liberalism. Positive liberalism means there will be a government. It might interfere, but it will only interfere to propagate your liberty even further. There will not be absence of government. There will be government, but the government will be trying to ensure that there is common good, there is welfare that is propagated. It's not saying that it will be socialism, it's not interfering with you, but it is allowing you to have even more liberty. This kind of liberalism puts emphasis on moral freedom. There will be distributive justice. Distributive justice basically means, let's assume that we have limited amount of goods. Let's say we have limited water, or we have, let's say, limited supply of coal, limited supply of rice, etc. How should it be distributed? That is called distributive justice. How do you distribute limited sources in the society? Some would say divide them equally. Some would say no, don't divide it equally. Those who are able to afford it can buy. Those who are not able to afford it, they will not be able to buy, so on and so forth. In positive liberalism theory, the government will try and ensure that there is proper distributive justice. Let's say on the basis of how much do you participate in governance. For example, when you read about Aristotle, Aristotle said that man has important political duties. Every man must fulfill his political duty, must come out to take part in political processes. Only when you fulfill your social duties should the government also help you out. So if you read about Aristotle and his theories, distribution of goods by the government will be done on the basis of whether or not you also fulfilled your duty. So again, positive liberalism means presence of state, but to enhance, to propagate liberty even further. These are the things that you needed to know about liberal theory of state, about how liberal thinkers think in brief. And now let's see how to write this answer. So the question again was, examine the liberal theory of state in contemporary politics. I've told this earlier also multiple times. These kind of answers are a short form or a short essay kind of a thing, rather than structuring it in the form of introduction, main body, conclusion. It's more of a shorter form of essay. So we'll just write whatever we know about this in compressed form. So liberal theory of state is a political theory emphasizing the role of state in protecting individuals' freedom. The idea is people have natural rights given to them by nature and the state cannot take it away. The responsibility of the state is to ensure that these rights are protected. I've told this earlier also, in every question in the optional paper, there are certain keywords that you're expected to write about. For example, whenever there is a question on liberalism, it can be liberalism as an ideology or liberal theory of state, liberal critique. Whenever there is a theory of liberalism, you are always expected to quote John Locke somewhere. He is the father of liberalism. So you're always expected to somewhere write about John Locke. Similarly, you're expected to write somewhere about natural rights, because the entire theory of liberalism is based on the idea of natural rights being important, and so important that the state cannot take it away. So unless you mention these keywords in your answer, it will not be considered as a good answer. Continuing on, the liberal theory of state is based on classic liberalism, emerged in Enlightenment period of the nearby 17th century. It was a response to monarchies. It advocates for limited government intervention in economy, protection of freedom of people, like freedom of speech, expression, etc. Then you can give examples of some countries that have adopted this model or still do adopt this model. Countries such as US, UK, Germany, France. These are the countries where you see this liberal theory of state coming into play. One other argument about this is, does this theory overlook social justice? Means, in a liberal state, if someone is poor and they are not able to afford a living, let's say someone is poor, for some reason they can't work, let's say they have some disability, they can't work. In an ideal liberal state, government will not come to help them out. Government will say, if you can't afford, you will die, we will not do anything. So the question is liberalism or liberal theory overlooking social justice? Now, there is an argument by critics, although the people who believe in liberal theory do not agree with this. They say that no, the question is, why should the government take away taxes from one person, distribute it to others? Why punish someone for someone else's bad work, or why punish someone for someone else's disability? The people who support the liberal theory say that the state has to be focused on individual rights. The state can regulate the economy slightly to promote social justice. The reality is, in today's time, no country follows negative concept of liberalism. Even in countries such as US and UK, there are interventions by the government to help the poor people. In an ideal liberal state, there will be nothing like a subsidy, but in US, UK, there are huge subsidies given. US has a huge farmer subsidy that they give for their agriculture. So in reality, in today, no country is totally liberal. All of them have certain shades of socialism. This is how you can end it. In the old era of state sovereignty, nationalism paved the way for globalization, and now the liberal theory is the only way where you can accommodate global diversity. A liberal state would welcome different ideas, a liberal state would welcome different point of views, even though they may be diverging. For global peace, for countries to be in line with each other, to help each other out, accepting liberal theory and liberal thinking is the way forward. This is how you can write this answer. And this brings us to the end of this class. I hope you learned something new. You are feeling more confident to handle these particular questions. I'll see you in the next class. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.